call, and on call he just does what he's told to do. He calls these people Manchurian consumers. Experiments were done on them from the time they were little kids in front of televisions. Now they direct ads at 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds. And they're working on ads because they believe that children have ad recognition at 18 months. These are people, there's probably some Muslims doing those jobs now. A lot of money to be made there. That's the way the Muslims are nowadays. I mean, I know somebody who was in Silicon Valley, an engineer at a work fair, and he was working for a corporation. I don't know, Raytheon or Rockwell, one of these corporations. Raytheon makes billions of dollars with the defense industry. And this American came up to him and said, gave him his resume, and then he looked up and he said, "Oh, no, give it back." And he said, "Why?" He said, "No, you guys make bombs and things. I can't do that." And he walked away. And this Muslim, who's from a Muslim country, said to me, I was just dumbstruck. Here's an American Christian or whatever who's refusing to work for a corporation because they make bombs, and here I'm a Muslim, and those bombs end up on Muslim heads. And if they don't end up on Muslim heads, they're pointed at Muslim heads. But people don't think about that, because one of the signs at the end of time is people don't care where they get their money from. Amin al-halal, amin al-haram. They don't care. It's one of the signs of the end of time. لا يبال المرء من حيث يأخذ رزقه أمن الحلال أمن الحرام. Unless we forget, the rizq is haram, it can be haram as well. Your rizq can be haram. Your provision, what Allah provides for you. So, when you look at this heart now, just in how do we educate this heart? If you look at the Quran itself, in a sense we can see that the Quran came for two primary reasons. One is an individual reason, and the other is a collective reason. The individual reason is to cure and guide the human being. The collective reason is to cure and guide humanity. But the curing and guidance of humanity cannot take place unless there are individuals who take on the individual project. And the first of those was the best of creation. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. قُمْ. You get up. You begin this. And he was the first one that did this. وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ. Magnify your... وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. Look at Ibn Juzay and others. وَقَلْبَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. Purify your heart. Purify. His heart was pure, but he came to teach humanity. And so the things he did, even though he was not in need of those things, he did them to teach us. For instance, he told Umar, اذكرني عند ربك يا أخي. When Umar was going to Mecca, he said, make a dua for me in Mecca. Sidi Ahmed Zarruq says the Prophet ﷺ is in no need of the dua of Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar needs the dua of the Prophet ﷺ. Umar needs the dua of the Prophet ﷺ, because who has shafa'at kubra? When all the human beings go on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, not just the Muslims, the non-Muslims have to go to him. They all go. Ishfa' lana. And he's the only one. Ana laha. He takes the banner of hamd, of praise. That's his maqam. So he came to teach us. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ. We reveal in this Quran a shifa and a mercy. رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The Quran is a shifa and it's a mercy. فِيهِ شِفَاءٌ لِلنَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فيه شفاء أو شفاء ويشفي صدور قوم المؤمنين. It will cure the hearts of a believing people. People that believe in it, the Quran becomes a cure for them. It's a cure. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it as a cure and as a hidayah. Now, the first stage is the child inside the womb of her mother. And this is why a woman must be treated gently during her pregnancy. Allah khaffafa anha. Allah made things easy in her pregnancy. If she begins to bleed, she stops praying. She sits down. She doesn't have to pray standing up. She's meant to be helped in that time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, حَمَرَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ. I mean, look at that ibara. وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ. It's not just حَمَرَتْهُ وَهْنًا. وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ. Sapped and weakened. Weakness on weakness. Vomiting in the night. In the morning, the sickness. Really, it's an extraordinary thing. The pregnancy that a woman goes through, that time is a time when she needs to be secure in her home. She needs to feel secure. She needs to feel protected and loved by her family. Because she needs to be in a good state in order for this child to be in a healthy state. Because crack babies show the symptoms of withdrawal when they're born. What's going on with the mother will end up going on with the child. And you will see children that were born during stressful pregnancies displaying signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. Really, this happens. People that work in this area know this. Now the next stage is radha'a. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْمُرْضِعْ الْحَمْقَى فَإِنَّهَا تُغَذِّي. Beware of giving the wet nurse to a woman her intellect is weak, because she's giving more than just milk. In other words, choose your wet nurse well, because the Arabs used to have a murdi', a woman. The Prophet ﷺ had, who was his wet nurse? Halima Sa'diyah. If you look at that name, the names have a secret. The Prophet ﷺ said about Abu Dharr, he was a Ghifari, and he said, Ghifar, Ghafarahum Allah. Bani Ghifar, may Allah forgive them. Aslam, Sallamuhum Allah, may Allah give them salama. Names have a meaning. Halima was Halima Sa'diyah. The word in Arabic for the nipple is halama. That's the word for a nipple, is halama. And hilm is what the wet nurse gives to the child. Because the beauty of a wet nurse, a mother who's nursing a child, is that when the child cries, she doesn't get angry at it. Her milk actually starts to flow. The compassion wells up in her. A healthy mother will run to her child when it's hungry. And this is all nurturing the child. So the first stage, this is because the heart of the child is also growing. And this is all to teach the child these things. That's why Erickson in this culture said the first crisis of the child is trust versus mistrust. The first 2 years, which is the rida'a. The rida'a is 2 years. وَفِصَالُهُمْ فِي عَامَيْنِ. 2 years. The first 2 years is trust versus mistrust. The child has to learn trust. Now the word in Arabic for trust is the same word as the word for iman. Amana and iman and aman. Security, safety, soundness. This needs to be given to the child. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, he said in a beautiful hadith, أَدِّبُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ عَلَى 3 خِصَالٍ. Discipline your children to 3 qualities. Teach them 3 things. حُبِّ نَبِيِّكُمْ وَحُبِّ آلِ بَيْتِهِ وَتِلَاوَةِ الْقُرْآنِ. The first 2 are about love. Where is love? How do you teach a child to love something? By putting that love in their heart. So the nurturing, the teaching of a child is tarbiyat al-qalb. It's teaching them